right? And when I thought of this particular program and nature writing, the first thing that came to mind was Aros Poetica, right? But what would you say is the story, the memoir, as it were, of your relationship to nature? You know, because at once I think, like I said, I think of you, maybe because that's the context in which I met you as an urban woman, but but I also go to that poem about, you know, the ants taking the bright pieces above her head, etc., which is like an image that has stayed with me. Like the first time I read that book for a long, like I walked to the train with it, you know. So tell me a little bit about that, you know, the memoir of you in nature.
I grew up in California, and I grew up in Santa Ana, which is suburban, urban, interesting place. Feels like very city in some ways, but California, lots of space. There was a little stretch of orange grove outside of the kitchen window. People would come from all over the city to pick the oranges. And my grandmother always had a garden area, small little tons of plants, and she put the plants on the TV so that at commercials she could look up at it. I always had a sense of, you know, a relationship to sky. I loved picking up bricks in the back and seeing all the pitcher bugs and ants and so I don't know. It's been interesting to be. I live in New York now mostly. I'm in Amherst part of the time, and so I feel very taught by the sky, the dirt, concrete relationship between the two. I remember roller skating and knowing where the crack was, where you were going to have to like kind of jump over and then see the green kind of come up through the cracks of concrete. I don't know. I feel like I'm from many places, and I guess one quick thing is that my mom grew up in Chicago. My dad grew up in Ethiopia, mostly Eritrea, and so home and people, like their idea of home, was always someplace farther, and the people were farther. So I feel like I've very often looked for clues of like, you know, what are they seeing? What might people far away be seeing that I'm seeing? Or kind of engaging with an imagination of different landscapes or different places. That was always kind of, felt like a kind of clue to imagine that they had dirt, we had dirt, and they had. And so I felt like somehow it's been a kind of stable connecting force. The ocean big time. Ocean big time too.
So, I mean, in terms of this program, we're here because there's a kind of complex question about the involvement or the inclusion in the canon of nature writing of African American writers, right? Of black writers, period. Is there a point, at what point did you start thinking of yourself or not within the canon of nature writing, both of you, and you too, Chase, like at what point did you start thinking of yourself as being a nature writer, or was that never a thought? Is that just a thing you wrote about?
I never thought of it. It's kind of an umbrella that got held over my head later in life. And I never thought of it that way. I think there are poets, for instance, I would consider Mary Oliver to be a nature poet, because that's all she writes about, and it's always front and center. And I would hope that the phrase nature poets would cover a great deal more territory than that.
I would just say, I didn't think about it until I was elected. And I just thought folks write whatever's happening for them in the moment, whatever's hashtag for that at the moment, the subject gets going. It was when the new intellect was being put together, and I suddenly realized that, well, first of all, there was a whole section that never made it in. It was a section of poems that I wrote when I was in France for vacation, and we had written with a friend, we'd been at a farm cottage, and really loved writing about what was around us, right? What was around us, and never, I thought, well, they've been around for a while. I'm reading from this stuff at all. Not a single poem actually. There's a title of one of the poems, one of the sections, the way a long dress turns the corner. That's actually a little bit of revenge on my part for, because it's a line from one of those poems that I actually repurposed for this section. one line made it in. But that, suddenly I realized that most of the poems, some of the poems that I read this evening, were poems that never made it into the selected. Because it was, because The Mouse, for example, which I think is one of my favorite poems, was just, I felt like all the stuff that seemed to be too much lyrical nature sort of being pushed off to the side. Right? And I started wondering, why is that? Why is it? There's something wrong with those poems. There's something, well, but not, I don't know. I really don't know. I want to get into my mind. I really want. So, but one of those things, but it made me think. It made me think.
Huh.
So all those poems
curious.
became sort of like from the general adult often being selected. So that was when I started thinking about it. Right? Is it, are those poems lesser poems because they're not urban enough, or they're not, dealing with the subject of race, or is it other considerations that are being put in? Could be there were lousy poems in there, right? I mean, I don't know. But they didn't end up in the grouping that I thought where they belonged. The thing with the Joe Wood poem, that was more of a struggle, but I actually really sort of largely understood that it was probably better than